I went to the Pursuit of Truth. So I thought I'd do this one quick before Christmas. Probably won't have another chance, but obviously the strikes are going on. Many strikes. December is the winter of discontent, and obviously there's a lot of emergency service strikes, at ambulance and that and the like. I don't know. It's very difficult because obviously with a child who's disabled and currently is not well, and even the GPs don't seem to be able to really pinpoint what it is. It's very worrying to think that there may not be any ambulance coming. I mean, even before, I remember there was a few times I phoned here. It seems worse down in the southeast than it is London. London, the amps come quickly. I remember there was once I phoned, it took ages to get through. And then they said there'd be a wait of an hour to 2 hours. I mean, imagine you've got a child who's sick and you've got to wait 2 hours. It just seems like everything's falling apart at the moment. And I know, so that was sort of like what made me want to talk about this, the idea of strikes. And I mean, the problem is I don't believe in the system. I don't believe in the way that we live being the proper way. But if you asked me in the system that we live in, I understand why people strike, because there's lots of businesses that have all the money and they don't give it out to the workers, and the workers are taking all the stress and all the hard work. But I also understand from a public point of view, if it's like a postman, yeah, everyone can wait for their post. But if it's like emergency services like police or ambulance or fire, that I have a little bit of a problem with, because that could lead to someone's untimely or unnecessary death. And I would find that, if I was working in those services, I would find it difficult to strike, because I'd be worried about the person that may die because I'm not there. And I'm sure there are a lot that aren't striking because of that. But then, of course, I understand when they come across as saying like their work is already stressful, and because the government or successive government or all governments haven't really put enough money in, that it's now led to an NHS or a hospital service that just doesn't have enough staff. And all businesses nowadays like skeleton staff and streamlining everything and getting everyone to cover more than one person so that they can make money, because the margins are so small in a almost recession, and we've been through a few. So I get it, from their point of view, it must be very stressful. And then there's mistakes that get made and they get blamed for the mistakes, whereas it's probably because of the pressure that's being put on, because, well, really, the system doesn't work. The system is always going to have these problems while we have money attached. I was thinking, like, because, obviously I don't believe in money, and I'd rather get rid of it, get rid of the system, have a system where people do the things that they want to do. And I think you'd have enough of those people doing those things. And then you wouldn't have the people who, that aren't really good at the job, that are doing the job and letting down the services that, like I find in healthcare, like I find in childcare and all those kinds of things that I've talked on these Pursuits of Truth, and everyone knows this. And it's because people have to have a job and they have to have money. If we didn't have that, we wouldn't have that kind of problem. And, I was thinking about like Monopoly. When you start Monopoly, if it was a game like a real game of life, as it were, or even game of life, they give you money at the beginning, which is factually inaccurate to life, although I suppose you do have parents, and then it depends on your parents' wealth, depending on yours. So it's a roll of dice or a bit of luck, or what country you're born in, etc. That's why I have sympathy with the idea of people around the world, and, helping each other out, and why I would prefer the system that we live in, which doesn't do that. We'd have a system that's more towards humanity. But if the game of life on Monopoly was truthful, no one would get any money. We'd all start at zero, and then the game wouldn't even start, would it? Because you'd have to, well, I suppose a game of life, you do have to earn a little bit of money. You have to go to university and all that, and it does have that sort of thing. But I was thinking, like, why in life, and I think there is a country that does this, rather than us all starting with zero, as this is all a man-made construct, the system that we live in, the idea of money is a man-made construct, the whole system that we all have agreed every single country has agreed to have the same system, even though we hate each other and all that kind of stuff, and we have borders, but we all have the same system of money and all that kind of stuff. Why don't we all just start off with £100,000 each? What's the reason we don't start like that? What is the reason that we all start? Because they want, obviously, somebody, whoever it is, or just the way the system is designed, is just this way that there's different levels. But why do we need different levels? Because this is what causes all the problems in our lives. This is what causes thefts and robberies and murders and all this kind of stuff. Yeah, there are some things that aren't to do with that, but a lot of it is to do with that disparity between humanity. What causes, people to die in the water because they're trying to come across for migration reasons or asylum, etc. All because of this system we live in. Countless times I seem to have mentioned all these things, and I know a lot of people will know these things. It's just I just feel like one day will someone wake up and we all change and decide that, we all know it's wrong. Why are we all still keeping it going? And how, I don't know, it's just so difficult. Anyway, take care, ladies and rest in peace.